Whatcha! We are down magically from 3 screens to 2. I know that was excessive.
That's the magic of video editing.
Welcome everyone to episode 14 of the Unchained Vodcast. Noobs! Huh. What are they good for? Today we're going to be talking about...
cat and fodder.
We're going to be talking about newbies because at some point or another everyone is new to something. So here we are, just Chris and I once again. How are you doing today, Chris?
Doing pretty good. The weather is getting nice, so we have our 2 weeks of UK summer. It's gonna go back to winter pretty soon, probably.
I saw some other people posting online about that in the northern US, saying that they were getting snow already. Our
Summer's over, guys.
Here, our summer has really just started ramping up. It's not even hot yet, or at least it's not what I know will be hot.
Yeah.
Give it another. Once we get into June, it's going to start getting insufferable.
Not here.
Yeah.
Well, I've never lived in the UK during summer, but from what I've been told, it sucks.
Yeah, southeastern U.S., you get into June, July, especially August. Oh, man. Yeah. August is usually the month where you just walk outside and you're immediately wet and you never get dry again.
Ew.
It's just sweaty
Doesn't
and
sound
swampy
that
and
fun.
nasty. So welcome to the show. Today's episode is about Swamp Butt. I hope that's not an environmental effect in the game. Anyway,
I hope so.
Anyway, what we're actually talking about new players, people new to the game, both at launch and, of course, after launch. We're going to talk about how to get them invested in the game, how to keep them competitive, tutorials, all kinds of stuff like that. So, to start off with, everybody's a noob at some point or another. So, both for Chat and Chris, what was your first MMO, and how did it feel? Like, how did you get into the game and learn your way through things?
My first MMO was EverQuest, and the first thing I did was actually, right after creating my character, was turning myself PK. Because in EverQuest, you had, from the start, in your inventory, you had the Tome of Discord that you had to give to a priest of Discord to have your name turn red and become player killer. So you could kill people, but people could kill you. And even the people who were PvE so that you couldn't kill could still kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So I turned my character PK, and then all the guards that were level 50 in the city just jumped me, so they killed my character. So the first thing I did was recreate my character.
That's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it pays off.
Yeah. Pretty much. The thing, and one of the things that is now painful for most people, but that I really loved, is that you're dropped in the world. You don't know what to do. You didn't have any quest marker. You didn't have any map or compass. So you had to figure out everything either from the internet, which at the time was not that developed, or from other players. And that's usually how it happened. A lot of older players, high levels, when they had to come back to the city, would just spend some time helping newbies.
Yeah, I was trying to think today what my first MMO was. Usually I say it was PlanetSide 1, but now I can't remember which came out first, PlanetSide 1 or Guild Wars 1. I think it was
PlanetSide 1.
I think it was still PlanetSide 1.
Yeah.
Which would make that my first MMO. It came out, it just sounded magical and amazing to me. So I got into it. I knew about EverQuest before then and wanted to play it, but I didn't have access to any sort of disposable income to do so. So, didn't. But got into PlanetSide 1 because I like first-person shooter games. I still like FPS games. And I really enjoyed that game. But I remember getting into it, and I had never played an MMO before at all. So I just got in there, and I was like, all right, I made my little guy, which is easy to make your guy. You just pick like one of 3 templates, and you go into the game, and you start off with you start off doing training. They have like this VR tutorial thing as soon as you get in the game, and I remember spending like an hour and a half to 2 hours going through every single weapon and vehicle in the game.
Trying to understand how it works.
Shooting things and driving around. I was having fun doing that, just virtual reality training. I was like, this is awesome. Woo! And I'll drive my little vehicles around. I'm shooting things pointlessly for like 2 hours. Then I get out of there.
Fun.
Then I get out of there and I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Okay, well, they have this thing where you can like instant action and just drop into anything. So I run over there. I'm like, get into the pod, drop into combat. I've been doing 2 hours of training. Yeah, I've been doing 2 hours of training, but I really have no idea what I'm doing anyway. So I just get out there and I'm like, yay! And I died. And then I respawn, and I died. And I respawn, and I died. And I just kept running back over there. I'm like, 9 parts enthusiasm, 1 part actual skill.
Yeah, no, that was... EverQuest was hard in that part, is that you had no clue. Even I had the box. I bought the box set. You had a few pointers to the classes, to what the classes were doing. You had a few maps of the starting areas. And that was it. Mm-hmm. That's all you had in the manual. And you didn't have any tutorial or anything in the game. So basically you had to talk to everybody to figure out who was giving you quests or not. And you didn't have any quest markers or any quest pointers or even quest log, actually. You had to write... Most of the old EQ players remember having a piece of paper and a pen on the side of the desk to write your requests and where you needed to go. So I remember that. I think part of me would love to relive that experience.
For 15 minutes?
Part of me, yeah, that's about it. The rest, the other part of me, which is the majority, would say, fuck it, I'm out.
There's some parts of that I would like to have. You know, I think there are some elements of that have value even in a current game, just not the full extent of it. We're a bit spoiled on certain things that I think we really would miss if we didn't have.
I think it was done like that because they didn't have the technology at that time to do that.
Yeah, it wasn't a design choice necessarily. Yeah. Let's see. But we've got
a bit of difficulty now. Would still be good for a game that a game that is relatively easy to handle but extremely hard to master.
Yeah. Let's see. I had something here. James Goblin thinks people are just going to come in, see no chainmail bikinis, and ask for refunds. Probably a lot of them. I want to see some chainmail bikinis. What? I want my male character to run around with a chainmail bikini. Thraxter, let's see, played Ultima Online a bit. Lake of Ruin was in Asheron's Call. Downloading the beta of that game took several days. Let's see, James started with WoW. Anarchy Online. Dayon. Well, that wasn't your first. That doesn't count. That's not what I asked. Okay, we got a couple of responses there. No one else going into how their experience was as a noob. But that's what we want to talk about, really, is how do we make new players competitive from the onset? There's a couple things we've brought up previously in other casts that I think are vital. We've talked about the horizontal progression system and how that works in their favor. The more horizontal it is, the better it is for new players, because obviously the veterans aren't imminently overpowered compared to them. The same thing goes with the equipment being specialized rather than simply upgrading in a completely linear fashion. Mm-hmm. The other question is, how else do we get them into the game and playing on a similar level, a similar like skill level? Not even talking about skill level, but character ability level with stats and everything featured in, because there is going to be some linear, Vertical. That's the word I want. Some vertical progression to the system.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't want too much hand-holding at the same time. So, yeah, the start will be hard and it will be painful. Not because the stats and the equipment will be lower, even if it will be. But at the same time, they won't know the game. So, unless somebody... I would prefer somebody helping them to understand the game, to know how it works, to start explaining things, rather than like a tutorial. They said there will be some kind of tutorial at the beginning. I would prefer... I don't know if it's possible with the MMO crowd we have now. Although in the CU community, I think it would work. But like we had in the beginning of EQ, which were volunteers helping noobs.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching them how it works, showing them the ropes. And also, it would be a great thing to add realm rewards. Because if you spend time helping newbies for your realm, because it's not for your own benefit, it's for your realm, you should get renown and prestige for that, and rewards from the king from helping the little ones in the realm.
All right. Well, I was going to talk about tutorials and stuff later, but we can go ahead and talk about that now. For me, what I want to see is also... I do want to see some tutorials, because I think it's essential to have something. What I would kind of prefer to see is you get into the game, you have a quick UI tutorial. Here's chat.
Yeah.
Here's how the map works. Here's how you edit the abilities to create your own custom abilities, so that you know, okay, here's how I get in the ability creator and I set up my things. Then after you get out of that, they've mentioned before that crafters will have like intro quests to get them their beginning resources for building things. I would kind of like to see something similar for the PvP-oriented characters, where it gives you a couple of beginner missions that you have that aren't like PvE quests, mind you. They're things like well, it's kind of like boot camp, but they're things that immediately push you into the RVR zone. So they basically put a boot to your ass to make you go out there and do PvP. So like, you know, one of them might be join a group. Here's how you invite someone to a party, or here's how you accept a party invite. Go join a group, and you get, say, maybe bonus experience for the day, or bonus resources for the day, or something like that. Another one might be attack a place of power, visit the depths, participate in a keep capture, so that you have certain milestones that you can achieve as a new player to familiarize yourself with the different types of PvP content. And each one of those
more like achievements.
Kind of. They're kind of like really easy achievements. I'm not talking about like 20,000 of them, just, you know, a handful of them to go, these are the basic things you're going to be doing in the game. And the idea is it would force them out into the PvP zone, hopefully interacting with people. And it would give them a way to get kind of an early XP and resource boost that would, it's kind of like making it easier to go from level 1 to level 2. You real quick kind of get, like, you do the things you're supposed to do, you participate in some stuff, you get some quick XP, or maybe even just you get quick access to starter gear or something to get you out there. Basically,
more like starter gear.
Some way to just kind of kickstart you on the trail to getting good items and everything, so you can get out there. That's why I was thinking of resources, because then it doesn't necessarily just give you gear, but it gives you something that you can give back into the community and go, oh, hey, crafters, I've got some money. Take some money and give me gear, please. Yeah.
I think the starter gear, you should start... I think for that part, you should start with a sword for the combatants, just because it's gonna hard, especially at the beginning.
You've got to start with something.
Especially at launch. After that, maybe less, because then maybe that could be also a task and an assignment for the crafters to craft low-level stuff, so the newbies have a vendor that has crafted gear that is better than what the devs would give, but that is cheap enough that the newbies can get. But in the beginning, at launch, everybody has to have at least a weapon and one piece of armor, so you can actually go start smacking some heads.
I do actually think that they should give them full set of equipment when people make their characters. Just not good equipment, but like a full set of some basic level intro gear that you have, so you at least have armor on every part of your body. You've got a weapon. You can go out there and fight. And then, like I said, maybe if you do your intro stuff, it might give you enough to upgrade one or two things from a crafter with some of those entry-level pieces that the beginner crafters are making, so that they can start to form some sort of an exchange, because the game's, they said they're going to have little intro quests for crafters to make some items early on. I think they could pretty easily tie those together. Swazi said he just wants to see beginners getting crushed by experienced players, so they have something to strive for. Which is a certain argument.
The crowd. I would agree with that statement 5 years ago, 5 or 10 years ago. With the MMO crowd we have now, it would push way too many people away from the game, I think. That's the problem. I would love a hard start of the game, so you know that it's not an easy game that's going to hold your hand, and you have challenges to look forward to. But at the same time, gamers nowadays, I sound like an old guy now, but the new MMO players are used to have their hand held at least until level 10.
They are, but this game's not catering to them.
Yeah, but they're used to have at least the 4 or 5 first hours of the game completely given to them without so much as a challenge.
And some of the older MMO players have gotten accustomed to it as well. To be fair,
I agree. We've been given that so much in the last 5 to 10 years that everybody's used to it. Even I would love a hard experience, but I would rage most of the time. Most probably, I would love it at the end of it. I would love having gone through it, but it would be a painful experience for pretty much everybody. A bit of difficulty and challenge, yes, but not too much.
Here's where I can agree with Swazi's point. What I would like to see in that context is I would like to see new players getting crushed by skilled, experienced players.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see. Now, if you're an experienced player who is crap at the game, you shouldn't be pwning noobs. I'm sorry. But if you're a skilled player who has the gear and is good at the game, yeah, you should be crushing noobs. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Which is another question that coming into the game, since we're talking about, coming right into it, doing tutorials and everything. The other big issue is how do they get people, new players, making characters skillfully, because that's going to be a certain issue in the game. I mean, they're gonna give us all these numbers and statistics and facts on how much 1 point of strength gives you and what does this give you when you pick it at character creation, and you've got to pick all that stuff. And then, what if you just make your character awful?
Then you've made your character awful. It comes down to, again, hand-holding. Either you're interested in the game and you research a bit, because the wiki will be most certainly really filled with info. So either you're interested and research your character and what you want to do. It was just EverQuest. There was not much things to decide for. I spent 2 months printing all the stats for all the races and all the classes and doing min-max and mix and match like that to see what could work well and what could really not work. If you go there completely blind and screw up your character, then you've screwed up your character. You have to either remake one once people start explaining to you what is what, or you just live with that. Some people are okay with it also.
Yeah, I mean, I can feel you. I mean, I'm a librarian by profession. Research is my bread and butter. One of my favorite MMOs is EVE Online, where there's no help
You
when you're
have to
making your
research.
character. You've got to go offline and research, or
Yeah.
well, go off out of the game and research. However, we have issues like in our guild. We have a long list of rules that people have to read and agree before they go into it. They have to fill out an application stuff. A lot of people don't like it. They get annoyed because they don't want to take that a bit of effort to get in, and so they go like, "I'm interested," and then some people see that and they go, "Nah, I can't be bothered," and they're not going to do that. And to a certain degree, we're like, "Oh, we're better off without them because they wouldn't put even the effort to do that." But there has to be a certain degree of compromise, because
need new
we
players
even
too.
we even compromise in that. We go, okay, well, like, can we make it a little shorter? So there has to be a level of compromise in there. And I think what I think they'll need to do is, first, we have the wiki, which has all the stuff, and I think they need all that stuff in the game. I know it's kind of hard to do that, but they need like a browser window or something where you can open it and at least have like a tome of stats, where you can have like a tome and go, okay, strength gives me X.
In the character
Dex gives me,
creation.
yes, in the character creation. So if you want to, you can click on the little book to get the big ream of information. But what they also need, just as a small degree of hand-holding, I guess, I think what they also need is a quick guide to, like, when you click on a mage, just have a pop-up that goes, mages normally use this stat, this stat, and this stat.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go by that, you can. If you don't, well, then it's your own fault.
Yeah.
You have no one else to blame at this point. Not walk them through the whole thing, just at least go, okay, these are the recommended stats for a mage.
Well, that's
Good
pretty
to go.
standard in most MMO character creation. So I would be completely okay with that. Giving them a bit more information, I'm okay with it also, but they will have to look at it anyway. Even if you give them the option to do that in-game. Some people don't even bother.
Lake of Room wants strength on his mage. That's what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah.
More strength for the magic user.
But yeah, for newbies, the fact that I would like, in some part, that a skilled newbie, even with a lower stuff, can be a really bad player, even if he has better stuff.
Oh yeah. I think that's important.
Yeah, it is, especially for a game that has horizontal progression. Even if you have better gear, if you really suck at playing your class, you should be owned.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I mean, that's the kind of game I want to see. That to some degree, that's why I enjoy first-person shooter games and stuff like that, because it doesn't matter how long you've been playing. I don't want an XP system in my FPS game, because I don't want someone to be killing me just because he's got better weapons than me. I'm like, no, it's BS.
Yeah.
And when it comes to even MMOs, I feel like that a little bit. Like, I should at least have the chance to kill someone. When games are super hard bent on gear to where that completely make or break your character, it really puts me off. I really, that's why I can't get into WoW overly much. I play it for a couple months and then I'll leave, because that's pretty much built into the entire system. One last thing I think they can do with character creation, and I think they even mentioned that this is a possibility, is to have, and I know some people are going to hiss as soon as I say it, is to have some sort of stat reset. Not as like I'm not thinking of like as a game-wide feature, but maybe like when you create your character, you come inherent with one stat reset that you can use if you decide after a couple levels, oh, I did something really stupid, let me redo my beginner stats real quick. And that's like the only time you can do it. I would be okay with that
for a week. You have a week. I would say you create your character and you have a week where your stat reset is available. After that,
there's so much hissing going on right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I feel like. I just don't feel like somebody should have to completely delete and then remake their character just because, oh, I did the stat wrong. Let me delete it and now remake it and go over the last hour of the game. They don't have a huge investment. They could just remake the character, but why make them do it at that point? if they can't get access to a stat reset or anything, what does it hurt to let them have basically one oh shit button to reset their stuff?
It would be probably better also for player retention.
Exactly.
Even if it's just an hour, there's a lot of players who are gonna say, "Oh, fuck this, I'm off."
Yeah,
I don't want to go through the last hour or the last 2 hours
I don't want
just because I screwed up 2
again.
stats. Yeah.
Now, what I also want to talk about, what I was kind of trying to start off with from the beginning, is what types of things can the beginners also do, or can they do for beginners to get them help them move towards being more on par with the veteran players? For instance, one thing we've kind of mentioned in another cast that I think they can do is having like beginner training, where, you know, in the safe zone you have like a dummy that's set up and you can go and you can punch it in the face for 10 minutes to build up your strength. It only really gives you benefit when you're really low level, but if you want a way to kind of quickly build it up, you can go in there and sit there and punch it. It also works if you're trying to refocus your character. Maybe you've been focusing on dex, and now you're like, oh, I'm going to let that kind of wear down over time, and I want to focus more on strength. So you can go to the dummy and kind of beat the crap out of it for 10 minutes to level up your strength a little bit.
I'm not too keen on that. The dummy for actual training purposes, more like... Well, testing purposes, sorry. More like they do in the Secret World, where you actually have dummies where you can train and check your rotation and check your DPS. It would be good for a game like CU where you create your abilities. So having a way to say, okay, this combination of components works, this one really doesn't. So a dummy for that, and as you use your abilities anyway, it wears off if you stop using it. So it could play in that, but not 10 minutes to start leveling your thing. I don't think you need that, really, to get started. It's just the new players, and that's what I like, is that the new players, when they arrive, are going to be completely useless in 1v1. They will have to group. And that's... For me, that's a good thing. I know a lot of people are pissed off every time you mention forcing people to group. But in an RVR environment, you will have to. The sooner the better. The sooner you make ties with a guild, join a guild, or just get to know people that you will be able to group with for the mass PvP, the better. So why giving them the possibility to go 1v1 when it would be better to kind of force them to go for a group?
Real quick to answer Thraxter's question for stats and Banes and Boons, I actually am kind of concerned that after a month you figure out you did the wrong thing, you need to start over. That's kind of why I said I could see characters starting with one free reset of like beginner stats. I don't see the need to put a time limit on it. You just have one, and you use it whenever you feel is opportune. If you don't use it within the first week, then after a month, you can use it, as far as I'm concerned, just to reset your beginner stats, not anything else you've gained. I wouldn't see a problem with that. But back onto the dummies issue. I guess where I see that some people might desire something like a training dummy to kind of speed level early stats a little bit is, while I totally agree with you that people need to group and they'll need to go out there, walking out there and finding a battle is going to be time consuming, especially for a new player that doesn't have a guild yet. They don't know where the battles are. They're just going to walk out there and then wander on the field, pull up a map and be like, hey guys, where's the fight? Blah, 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 blah. And they're not going to know, oh, it's over by blah, blah, blah. And they pull up their map. Where the hell is that? You know, it's going to take them a lot of time to get out there, even more than other people. And you level up your skill by use. So other people have been finding battles, fighting, using it. Finding battles, fighting, using it with long periods of downtime in between that. So I can see how some people might go, okay, well, I just want to get to level 10 on my sword skill real quick, So I'm going to go beat this dummy for a while, and I won't have to do all that walking around. I can just beat the dummy for a while, and then I feel like I've at least gained something, and then I can go. Of course, there is a problem with that, which I will freely admit, which is you won't know what you've leveled until the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a problem. I could see someone sitting there hitting the dummy for an hour. Why haven't I leveled anything? Why haven't I leveled?
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. It's with the daily reset, you won't know, and you won't get the benefit from it until the end of the day. So might as well. I would say the tutorial for the beginning, really, the tutorial might give you a pointer. Say they keep track of the big battles anyway. So when you go to the boot camp, they tell you go there and start fighting, and they offer you the opportunity that one time only to group directly with other newbies, or to have the option to talk to somebody. Voluntary group, an option in the group window to accept newbies. That I don't know how. I'm not a developer, so I don't know how hard it is to implement that. But I would say it would be interesting for a group that doesn't have, for a full group, or a group of people who are okay with helping a newbie, having the option to tick accepting newbies in the group, and the newbies directly within the tutorial is put in that group and sent to that battle.
Yeah, I was going to say,
so
actually, a question I was going to bring up in a minute was one of the things I can see as a role for new players is needing to be in those groups, because when they're in the big groups, being new doesn't matter that much. You're one in a group of like 20 or so people. If you're not that geared out, it really doesn't matter. However, a lot of people are against looking for group. They don't really want the looking for group type module in the game. Yeah. They don't want something that automatically matches people up. So how do you help them find people and find groups to play with without looking for group?
That's the paradox there.
And I don't necessarily have a problem with that idea of like a one-time thing out of the tutorial that would go... Yeah. Allow you to group, but then that sounds like a lot of work to have to put in to have groups be able to flag themselves as being willing to take on a new player, just so that people out of tutorial can go, oh hey, bing, I joined your group.
That's why I said I don't know how hard it is to implement. It is an option to do that, and I'm okay with what Grace says. What Grace Fuller here says that noobs will truly have to seek groups and guilds. I would love that. The problem is a lot of people won't even bother, and if they don't have an option and a way to quickly start to group at the beginning, they will not bother and they will just quit. So I'm okay with people quitting if they are only looking for an easy game WoW type where everything is handed to you. But at some point, there is also something as too much deterrent for the newbies, or something and a too hard starting experience for newbies that will push them away, and we don't want that for a healthy game.
Now, one thing I can see as a possible solution for this is something that EVE Online has. Again, I get all these crazy ideas from EVE Online that I think parallel perfectly into this game. When you make a new character on EVE Online, depending on what race you choose, it starts you off in a starter guild. It basically puts you in a noob guild for your faction that everyone knows is the noob guild. It's not a permanent guild. It has no agenda or anything. It's just there to group you with all the other new players so that you can find each other and go, hey, let's group up. Let's do a thing. And some people from other guilds will be like in there and, they'll watch out to help people and give them tips and stuff and go, oh, this is how you do that, blah, blah, blah.
It's more of a chat than a real guild. Yeah. Basically, it's more of a newbie chat than a real guild.
I think there's some limitations and issues with that don't necessarily transition easily, because there's a problem if they do that as like a faction alliance. Then people are going to start using that tactically. I could see people immediately going, oh, well, I can reach the whole alliance with this. All right, we need people at this battle, and so on and so forth, and that would be a problem. So I don't think it's something that's directly easy to port over like that, but I do think that there is a way to maybe auto group them in some sort of a fashion, so that it's easier to get help without having to have a general chat, which people are in general. I've seen several people that are against as well. I personally have no problem with general chat, but
I have a mixed opinion on that.
I like to use it for guild recruitment, so I can't say anything.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Quit messing with my general chat. What are you doing? I need to recruit in there.
Yeah.
I gotta find these noobs. I can say
we need noobs for cannon fodder.
I can say personally for our server, I intend to have some people sitting by the newbie area with like a sign that's like, "Noobs, join on us here. We will help you go fight people. Come join our group." And then they'll carry them out to the RVR area and kill people. But and I agree with you and other people that have said this in chat, that I think that's a place where guilds can really help out too, where they can go and help new players. I mean, there are a lot of guilds like ours that are community oriented enough that they'll do that. But you can't. The developers can't rely on that though.
No, they have to implement some tools to help the noobs start up in the game with enough incentive to go on, that they don't quit right away. It was okay for EverQuest because we didn't know better. We didn't have any other option for us. It was the standard, the norm for most of the game. Even the AOC that came out shortly after EQ was the same. You didn't have too much pointers. You didn't have a map. You didn't have a lot of the tools that we're used to now. And the experience is harsh. I reinstalled Project 1999 and started Uthgard, the new DAOC emulator, and you're reminded of how unforgiving and hard the beginning is, especially for DAOC, because I'm a complete noob. I never played that game, and so you realize that a really hard experience can put off new players.
Yeah, and I see several people in chat talking about general chat being gold spam chat, but Mark Jacobs already said he's going to do everything he can to not have gold sellers. And that's the thing. Even without general chat, first of all, in almost every game, you can turn off general chat if you want to. Second, which is why I don't have a problem with it, because in almost every game, you can turn it off.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you don't like it, turn it off. Two, do you think not having general chat is going to stop people from spamming you gold advertisements? I've logged into so many games recently where I immediately get like 15 private messages. Would you like to buy some gold? Hey, you want to come over here and buy some gold? Would you like gold? Every time I log in, bam, 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 bam. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
That pushes me out of the game more than general chat spam. I start getting these whisper messages offering me gold. I'm like, all right, just logging out. I'm not even playing this. I don't care what it is.
You even have in games that don't have any trade or don't have any gold, you still have power levelers spamming the general chat. Example, The Division. There is no transfer. You can't transfer gear. You can't sell gear to other players. You don't need the currency. You can't exchange the currency. And you still have people spreading and spamming the general chat for power leveling. It's a fact of the MMO now. It can't be avoided.
James, I sometimes miss Baron's chat as well. I was a troll of Baron's chat. I would fly through there and say all kinds of things just to set people off, and then run out real quick. Anyway, Kriss, did you have any other questions or points that you specifically wanted to make about new players before I move on to my last point or question?
It's less of a question and more of a concern. It's always the same. I want to find a way to draw in new players without hand-holding and without making it too easy. And I think the community will be key for that also, even if the devs can't rely on that. But I really hope that the community that we've seen so far has been really welcoming for new players. And I really hope we're going to see, I want to see, like there was in EQ, the volunteers helping the new players.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, and for healthy guild, it's the best way to recruit. When you start explaining to somebody and teaching to somebody how the game works, usually it breeds also fidelity from the new members and the new recruits, because they will remember that you've helped them start in that game.
I agree. My last question then is, what do you think will be a big difference in Camelot Unchained compared to other MMOs for new players?
The big difference, the fact that for the first time in the MMO history, you won't have an introduction quest and quest to start, and you would have to go and directly go PvP.
Unless they add my idea for intro quests.
Yeah, but
even those
part,
are quests basically saying go PvP.
You will have to go out and start PvP.
Yeah, even those are basically would be quests saying go PvP.
Yeah. So
go kill 10 people.
Exactly. It still killed 10 things, but it's people.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a new experience for everybody, even for us who are pretty old MMO players and have played a lot of games. It's going to be completely different. None of us have experienced that.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be both a blessing and a curse, because it's going to put off a lot of players. But it's going to, for those who are really into PvP, I think it's going to be a really great thing.
For me, the one thing that I think is going to be different for a lot of players, especially younger players that are accustomed to more modern MMOs, that I'm a little bit worried about, is socialization, which we've been we've been talking about a lot. Is how do they get out and they socialize with other people? Especially when I know some of the game's backers have an inclination against like general chat and some of the tools like that, and like looking for group and stuff. How do they get out? How do they meet people? How do they socialize? How do they find groups? And how do they find the markets? Because we'll know where the markets are, but after playing the game for a while, we'll go, okay, that's the market you go to for this. That's the one you go to for this. We know that guild's got the corner around this market, so on and so forth. But the new players, they're going to get in, and they're just going to be, even the ones that do research, are they really going to think, should I look up where I'm going to buy certain things? They're probably not going to think of that. They're going to be looking at stats and character abilities, and then they get in the game, they're like, where do I buy a sword? And then they're in chat, hey guys, where do I buy a sword at? And everyone's like, oh my god, it's the noob, he doesn't know where to buy a sword. And the first 10 times someone asks, they're like, it's over, just go to that city right over there, and they've got cool swords that are really cheap. After the 10th time, somebody's like, oh god, just go away, man.
Read the fucking manual.
Go to the trade website. What's wrong with you? Maybe not to that extent of a problem, but I see some of those being an issue. And we've talked about the markets issue before. How do you find the correct markets? I just think it'll be an exacerbated issue for new players, because they're going to get in and they don't already have a frame of reference. They don't already have a context for everything.
And it's going to be exacerbated also further down the line after launch, because starting at launch, a lot of people will come back to the main city, to the starter city, to get supplies. 1 year, 2 year down the road, when big guilds, when we will have built the Ordo Veritas city with the markets and everything, and the higher player, the older player, will stay closer to the front lines. It's the same in every MMO, really. The starter cities after a time gets deserted.
Yeah.
So as much as I hate the general chat, it has a use for that kind of situation where a noob arrives and nobody's here.
I do think. I mean, they did kind of address that in one of the videos, one of the Q&As, where they said that they really do kind of want to make the central city still be an important place. They want to make there be reasons for people to still be going back there and be an important hub.
Yeah.
And I think being one of the only safe zones will kind of also help force that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be completely barren like a lot of the intro zones are in other MMOs. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's going to be booming with activity at all hours either. And then that becomes a problem if there's like only, say, like a local chat instead of a general chat.
Yeah.
Then they get there and there's the only people there are noobs like themselves and maybe one or two other people that are helping newbie players.
Where's the merchant? I don't know. If you know, tell me.
If you figure it out, let me know.
I've been running around in circles for 2 hours.
So that could be an issue. We don't know yet what they're going to do. They may have ideas to fix all of these problems already. We'll just have to wait and see. But those are, I guess, the concerns and maybe some possible solutions or ideas. With all that being said, I do want to thank everybody for coming out and hanging out with us and talking about newbies, including all of you newbies in chat. And it has
even had some real newbies in chat.
Yeah,
this time.
we got some new people to the cast at least, and so thank you for chatting with us. And it's been our episode 14 on Noobs, and we will see you again in 2 weeks, the same time, 6:30 p.m. EST.
Yep.